Okay, welcome back. This is another Heel Talk segment. And you know what we do? Instead of real talk, we say heel talk in this special segment. And this is a free flow conversation. That's all it's about. Sometimes I might throw some structure to it and have a theme, but all in all, it's about having free flow conversation with different individuals who have just beautiful thoughts to bring to the table. And I am honored, privileged, and also grateful to have these two guests today. You saw them in past segments and partners in healing and different videos that I threw out there. Part of this bringing people to the forefront, as I mentioned, I love being a messenger. Love it. I'll do it all day, every day. But I love bringing messengers to the forefront too. Because as much as I know I have great messages, I have people in my life who also have great messages. And these two individuals have an abundance of messages. And, the beautiful thing about bringing people together is the relationships that connect from the past that bring it forward to the future, and the innovation collaboration that happens in our older years is so amazing. So in saying that, I have two amazing doctors in the building today. I have Dr. J and Dr. Claire in the building. And yes, Dr. Claire was our first person we honored in Black and Brown in the Woods. And yeah, Dr. J, we are honoring Dr. J for the month of May, Mental Health Awareness Month. We are honoring her and giving her her virtual flowers. So, ladies, thank you for joining me today in this Heel Talk segment. And both of y'all wanted to do mentor-mentee relationships, which is ironic because that is so dear to my heart, as y'all know. But I'm going to release this one on y'all, right? This is y'all platform. Let's have a beautiful conversation. And what y'all got for us today?
Yeah, well, I can kick it off by saying Dr. J is my mentor, my life mentor. I tell people that Dr. J helped me to be a better wife. She helped me understand what a blended family looked like, helped me to understand what being a woman with three children and a husband looked like. So I think that for me, this is personal. This is like my life mentor. I tell people, you have those professional mentors and then you have the life mentors. Dr. J is also the one that called me and said, I'm about to join the doctoral program and you're about to join it too. And so we actually went through our doctoral program together. So this is real personal for me. So thank you for this.
Wow. To go from a young lady I met at church to a mentee, to a friend to a sister. She's like a sister to me, although she still references me as a mentor. She has mentored me through some things as far as nonprofit and social entrepreneurship, and watching her grow is a testament to the gifts that I've been given to see her, how she's bloomed, and she's taken over a community with her skills and the gifts that she's given. I don't take mentorship lightly at all because it is dear to me. It means a lot to me. And for the student to surpass the teacher is like the best thing you could possibly
That's what we
ask
want to
for.
see.
Right, that's what we want to see. When she was moving from job to job to job, and she was like, I'm making this and I'm doing this. I was like, yes, come on, let's do it. Come on. What else you got? Come on, let's do it. Let's do it. So um I believe every person should have that person in them or near them or with them that's their pusher person. Somebody that's gonna push them past go, somebody that's gonna put their foot in their back and say, I don't care. What else you got? Ain't no such word as I can't. What? You say, okay, so let's look at this. So I was a mentor counselor and didn't even know it. Didn't even know it until God called me into being a counselor. And so it was a struggle because I thought I only needed to be a mentor or a counselor. I didn't know that I could be both, and realized that it would be incongruent for me to go into a session and not bring all of me into that session. So
Mm.
mentoring is needed and necessary for our people, especially our minority people, our Black and Brown
Hmm.
People, we need mentorship. Um, our community is struggling. And I believe having relevant mentors in their lives can help them transcend some of the things that they are experiencing.
Mm.
I'm over here teared up. Okay, wait, let me tell you something. I told you it's personal.
Yeah.
Um, just to piggyback on what Dr. J was saying about having a mentor in your life is so important. Because you're talking about helping people heal. This heal talk is real because you also need that person who you can bounce your ideas off of. You need a person who can, when you need a kick in the back or a butt or like a punch in the throat, that's who you call your mentor, right? To get you on the right foot, to help give you perspective when perspective is not necessarily in your forefront or foresight. So I
Mm.
think like mentorship um can be, you need people to speak in rooms when you can't be there.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's called sponsorship, but mentorship is just as important. And I think that, when you are in a room and you hearing new information and you cannot digest it all by yourself, your mentor can sometimes help you through those things. And I think that that's what was key for me and Dr. J and I's relationship. Like it was things that I couldn't digest in my life, and I just needed somebody to help me, to be real with me and to walk me through and to push me, to a point. Even though my mom is there, and I tell people I got the bomb mama, but it was something she just, my mama wasn't married, so how was I supposed to know what it was like to be in a marriage? She was with my father for years, but they wasn't married, right? So that's a difference. So how do you walk through those spaces and places if you don't have anybody to have some real talk with you? So I think that that helps alleviate some of the struggle that some of us are feeling. And some people are very embarrassed to ask those very real questions of people. So having somebody that's close to you that you can really know, okay, I know who I can call. I can call my mentor to talk to me about, life, professionalism, spirituality, non-spirituality, what's happening with my body at this age, or, just all those things that you are going through in life. Or, what, it was this white lady at work who was talking to me kind of funny. Have you experienced that? How can we have those conversations and really keep it real? And then not only does, my mentor help me, but you know, uh, then I can turn around and if she needs a kick in the butt, I can kick
Hmm.
her in the butt too, right? So I think that that relationship is one for growth, one for healing for real. So when you're in a relationship, it's a ship, that ship is moving. So we ain't stagnant, it's not, I met Janetta 27 years ago. So it's not that I'm still at that place I was 27 years ago. And a lot of that is due to the ship that we created that moved together. And I think that that is so important for people to have. And I don't think people realize how important those ships are in your life. Because if they're not, if they're just sitting there like rolling in the waves and not doing more than just moving, then I don't think you want to be in that ship right there. You want a ship that's going to move you forward. You want a ship that's going to maybe help place you sometimes on solid ground. You want a ship that's sometimes going to bring you back into real life when you're going too far to the left. But I think it's been a really important relationship in my life. I know that. So to have just to be able to say that I have a mentor, even as our relationship evolves into sistership, it's still a ship, it's still moving. There are things that are moving in this relationship. So, and I think that's another thing that people don't realize in a mentor mentee, or any kind of relationship for that matter. It moves. It doesn't keep you stagnant. It doesn't keep you in one place. It doesn't stunt your growth. It doesn't create obstacles, but it alleviates all of those things. So I think that those are some of the things that I would push out to your audience, is that these relationships are important to have, in your life, wherever you are.
And
I
and
love
and and I will say too that for a mentor, you are modeling
it.
what um those who are watching you. And so sometimes mentors or people think that they have to be perfect and they have to always do the right thing and they always have to make the right decisions. Okay, I made a bad decision. So how do I come back from this? How do I take the ship that went astray and it's all shipwrecked over there? Okay, I'm shipwrecked for a moment, but I won't be shipwrecked forever. And being
Mm,
transparent and being honest about that journey. And because sometimes it's unrealistic. I'm not saying that you share everything, but there are some things you need to share with your mentee when they're
mm,
ready and they're struggling to say, look, I struggle too. I'm
mm,
not perfect. I'm not here just because I'm here because I'm saying this because I got the t-shirt, right?
mm,
3 kids, a blended family, being married, the struggle of being married, the struggle of the blended family, the struggle of raising kids. And what do you do when your kids are no longer kids? So talking about that, then talking about, your personal growth and talking about your spiritual growth and the different things you go through and you go through struggles and your body change and your mind change. And I think you and I had kind of talked about, how things change. I don't want to cuddle like I used to cuddle because it's too hot. I'm hot now. Bag up. Give me turn the fan on. So being able to be honest, I am brutally honest, if nothing else. If you ask me, you better be sure you want the answer because I'm gonna
Dig your
be
feet in, baby, because you're gonna get it.
get right. You gonna get it. And not in a bad or a negative way, because I
Mm-mm.
know
mm,
what it feels like for people to talk down to you and to treat you like you an idiot. So it's not that. But the name of my company, my nonprofit is Mother's Love. I do it in a loving environment where you feel safe, but know you've
mm.
been checked. And so in looking for, so I'll say to your audience, in looking and thinking about a mentor, you should be interviewing your mentor. You should be making sure that this mentor is going to fit where you are currently and where you want to be,
Mm,
right? Not somebody that's going to keep you stagnant because stagnation is not good. We don't want to be stagnant. We want to grow. And
mm,
growing is pain sometimes. Sometimes it hurt when you think about growing pains. And I didn't really know about that until my son had to go to the hospital because his knees was hurting so bad. And
mm.
the doctor said he had growing pains. I'm like, growing pains? Who knew it was a name, right? The knees hurt. They growing, right? And
Yeah.
so we're growing. When I think about the transition of life, there were pain. That
Mm,
was pain. People want to just grow and be fantastic and have no issues. No,
mm,
it's those hard areas that you grow from that I say, okay, Lord, I don't ever want to go through that no more. What do I need to learn? And then I'll laugh and go, so I had to learn that to go and tell Deborah Clair. Deborah Clair is asking me, I'm sorry, Dr. Deborah Clair is asking me about the very mucka I just went through and
yeah.
came through. So now I got to go and share with Dr. Deborah Claire and others that I mentor. Girl, yeah, I went through that too.
And it
Yeah,
wasn't easy.
it
It wasn't
wasn't.
easy.
It
Mm,
wasn't.
It wasn't easy.
So and mentors need to have character.
yeah.
They need to have character. They need to be trained on what it is you need to do. So not just being jumping up and say, "Oh, I want to be a mentor." No, you need to sit up under another mentor. You need to be trained. You can be out
Yes.
here and hurt somebody and mess somebody's whole life up. So I don't mentorship shouldn't just be taken as something you checking off a box saying, "Oh, this is what I want to do. It's popular. This is no. I didn't want to mentor them little girl, them women I didn't want to mentor them. I didn't like girls. But them was the very group my pastor sent me to mentor.
Yeah.
Them teenage girl. I was like, are you kidding me? So mentorship is not something most mentors don't jump up and say, "Oh, I want to be a mentor. This is what." Real mentors be like, "Yeah, no, I wasn't really trying to do that."
Kind of
Maybe
fall
I'm not
into
sure.
it.
Well, I wanted to just because both of y'all dropped some great gems. So I want to throw a little heel talk out there, just you do some heel talk out there. Then I'm hearing both of y'all talk about the evolution of the relationship y'all went through as mentor and mentee, and that to me speaks volume, right? And because there's the tips of like how to become a mentor, why to become a mentor. And I agree with you, Dr. J, that you should be a mentored and you should be mentored as well by a mentor. I think that should go both ways because I think it really um, cultivates the experience when you're mentoring someone else. You learn from someone and then you cultivate your own identity in it and you bring it forward. I think the hard part to really give tips and pointers on, you can, but I think it's really hard to describe because it really falls under connection and it's the bond. You obviously too. And I knew this when I was like, it popped in my spirit, in my heart, in my brain to say, let me bring these two together. They've been on it individually. Let's bring them together. Now, granted, I knew y'all had a connection. I knew that. Did I know it was to this level? No, I don't think I did. It's beautiful to get that insight now and see that's even more amazing that this was brought together. But I guess to propose a question in this Heel Talk segment, because it had me thinking about just the evolution of the relationship, that bond, and how does that bond connect, evolve, go to these different spaces? How was it allowed to breathe the breath in that way? If you get what I'm saying, right? Because there's the connection that you make with someone, and I've had an abundance of mentees that I was really close to, and maybe some were more top surface, but I still got the work done, right? I still cared for them, but there was some that there was this spiritual connection or something that's hard to describe, right? But my work described it, my actions described it, the way I connected with the way they reached out to me described it, right? Because sometimes they'll reach out to me before they reached out to their parent. So, not trying to be loquacious, but really love to hear your thoughts on the evolution, how this beautiful relationship blossomed on both theories, on both sides of your thoughts. And yeah, just kind of continuing this heel talk segment about mentor-mentee relationships.
Yeah. Janae, did you want to,
Go ahead,
what you
Dr.
got?
Claire.
You know what? It started, so our relationship started, actually, Janetta is one of my mother-in-law's very good friends. And I think that I just don't know. I think that I saw very quickly that Janetta had a life that resembled my life. And I was like, okay, there is somebody who can walk me through that's been there. And when I met Janetta, she was, and I have, and I get emotional thinking about it. I don't know if Janetta know this, but I have seen um, some tremendous transformational change. Like, some of the things that I have seen her grow through. It's just been fantastic. So whenever I'm talking to people about Janelle, I was like, listen, that's my mentor. She did this and she has grown this and has grown there. But I think that one, no under the initial connection for me was when I saw that she had a similar life to mine. Like similar in terms of she had a husband. They were fairly young when they got married. She had already had a kid when she got married. I had already had a kid when I got married. She had three. She had two boys and a girl. I had two girls and a boy. So we had some of those similarities there. And I remember calling Janetta was like, "Hey, I I I think I need for you to be my mentor." And she was like, "What? What?" She cringed and kind of like went through all that. She told you earlier she didn't like girls. So, just
Yep.
going through all of that, ugh, the messiness. And so I was like, you are my mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember that call, and then she put some demands on me, like, okay. if we're gonna do this, this is what I need from you. I hear you talk about you want to do this. You want your house clean. How you gonna get that done? You want to get to the next level in your career. How you gonna get that done? And she was just and putting it out there. Like she was putting some like things on me. I was like, I don't want you to be my mentor no more. You you you
Changed my
you.
mind.
But I needed that. I needed that. And I think that she is, anytime I make decisions or think about that, it's some of the nuggets that she has dropped, specifically that Janetta has dropped life wise, that I fall back on.
Mm.
Um, and I think that that's where my connection lies. And today I may not be as present in her life as she is in my life, because she is very present in my life. Like from the things I do in my nonprofit, one of my biggest and strongest supporters, to like whenever we are having something at home, she just shows up, just loving on us. And I think that that connection is, I think that's where, for me, that's where, how, and I think that it evolves, even when I see her evolve, I'm like, oh, let me step my game up. She got new shoes. I need to get shoes that's better. She got a new purse. I need to get a purse that's better. And I'm just saying that
Yeah,
metaphorically,
sure.
not, fit literally, but really like you look at those things, and I think that from there, and when she moves, I'm like, I gotta move. Like, I need to
Yeah.
sit. How can I, sometimes the oil drop from the top down. I'm like,
Mhm.
how can I get some of that oil? Because, know, seriously. And I think that just seeing her evolve and grow, it makes me want to evolve and grow. And I just, hold her in such high regard. Uh, oh, you're getting a big love fest today, Mr. Adam. I don't know if
Yeah.
you.
Well, Dr. Claire, I know the similarities was important to you. It sounds like the similarities you saw, felt. What about like representation? Was that important to you? Like,
Very much so. I mean, I've had some amazing women who were not Black women, in my life. But to see somebody who, the thing about that is, when you're allowed to be your absolute self. Uh, one of my bosses, who was also instrumental in my professional, like I call her my professional mentor, right? Like she was very Black woman, very instrumental, and I worked with a white woman who was like helped in that growth too. But personally, to see somebody who looked like me, who talked like I did, who was able to say, "Look now." That's her thing. Then I'll be like, look now. you know, um, who can stop me when I'm reeling, or I think, yeah, or who can understand like what a Black woman goes through, you
hmm
know. Janetta was raising, you talk to her, she'll fight you in a minute. But I just
that's funny.
but she all coiffed right now. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that all of that, was important, because I was like, oh, she hooked. She know what it's like to be raised in Inglewood or on the south side of Chicago, and understand my this, that, and those. And also helped me to realize that I can be who I am, silly, loud, and all, and then when to be professional about it. So
Mm.
I think having a strong Black woman was important. And like I said, I'm surrounded by strong Black women, but um, because her life looks so much like mine to me, I think that was more important than anything to me, because I was drowning, as the kids would say. I was drowning, not even drowning. I was drowning. I was
Dean.
I was drowning. I didn't know how to come up for air until I saw Janetta. And when I tell you, she strutted in the church one day, and I was like, I felt that power. And so, yeah.
I love that. What you got, Dr.
Wow.
J?
That's so for me, that's community. That's being in a community where you feel safe, right? Um, and so I knew her husband before I knew her. He was in high school and her mother, well, Mr. Adam, Christian. And
Yes.
so when my husband and I were married, and after her mother-in-law, Miss Rosa, came to the church, she kind of adopted. Like we were at the church and her family knows my husband's family like for years. So when we came to the church with Christian, she kind of like literally took him out. Now you think I'm a thug, she a real thug. She kind of like just took him out my arms and decided that that was going to be her child, her
Yeah.
nephew. And so then I, in turn, began to gravitate towards her son, who at that time, I think Johnny was a freshman in high school.
You say he was in high school.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he would have good grades, I would slide him money. He was like, I got some good grades. I was like, here, take this, put that in your pocket, right? And so I would take him bowling and,
Mm.
do the stuff that I did with the youth at the church because he was part of the youth. So I would drop him off at the barber shop. You going to get your hair cut? Oh, yeah, your mama want me to drop you off there. Make sure you get there. So stuff like that. So I knew him. And so when his mom said, well, Johnny about to get, I said, to who? I, who is this person? Right. And so when I first met Deborah, I met her at I think it was at the baby shower when she was pregnant with Michael. I
Mhm.
came over and met her, and I'm like, okay, just I was scoping out and everything. And then when she joined the church, and she kind of forced herself upon me. And I
I
found
did. I
an
did.
email that I sent you with all the list of things I told you to do, remember? And I
Mm-hmm.
forwarded to her. That email has to be about 15, 20 years old.
Yes.
I
Oh.
found it in my email. I said, Deborah, oh my God, do you remember, when she said I gave her all these things to do? Um, Goals she had. She told me. So I said, in order to reach these goals, we need some
Mm.
steps, right? And so I sent her an email. I said, can you believe you've met all these goals that we did 15 years ago? And for a mentor, for me, because I'm a note taker and I write goals, to be able to see that 15, 20 years ago, you wrote these things down, and here you are 15, 20 years later,
Mm.
they manifest. What blows me away about Dr. Deborah Clair is she says we're stronger together than we are apart, right? Our
Mhm.
fingers are longer together than they are apart. And so whenever I'm doing something with my nonprofit, I think about that. Not being a standalone, but pulling in other resources. Um, her intelligence, her kindness, her givingness, her quirkiness. I used to tell her it's okay to be quirky. It's okay to be you. If that's who you are, be you. I don't care what anybody thinks or feel, because at the end of the day, you're not being genuine to yourself if you are not you. Everybody ain't gonna like you, and we ain't for everybody. And
Mm.
I think we have like a 10-year difference. And so being a 10-year difference with her mother-in-law, I gleaned off her mother-in-law being 10 years older than me, and the confidence she walked in
Yeah.
turn helped me to pour it into Deborah. And because her mother-in-law and her husband were so close to my heart, I could not leave her out, right? We family. We gonna be family. And I've talked about community a lot. So this is a perfect example of community standing
Mm.
together, working together. You don't know the struggles people are doing. And I say, come over and let's eat. I'm cooking on Sunday. And her family came over, and I just need y'all to bring paper goods, and we gonna sit in the backyard. My husband gonna barbecue. Her mama bringing this, and I'm bringing this, and we bringing this, and we'd all know, not knowing that I really don't have a lot. You really don't have a lot. Nobody knows that the other one don't have a lot, but we've
That's right.
decided on Sundays we're gonna eat dinner together. And so
Mm.
on those Sundays, sitting in the backyard, or sitting at the kitchen table, we were able to sup, not knowing that if the other one hadn't bought the other piece, we wouldn't have had a whole meal.
Mm.
That's community. It's not just about the mentorship, it's about rebuilding community. And community doesn't have to be 15 houses. Community could just be two or three families
Yeah.
Yeah.
coming together to sup.
Yeah.
So she family. she ain't I don't she ain't never gonna not be family, right, to me. She's always gonna be that little sister. She's always gonna be the one that I call to get some information on about Deborah, what about this and what do you think? So just as much as she pulls from me, I get the pull from her. Or I'll say, look now, you better. I ain't playing with you. Get it. We got stuff to do, place to go, and people to see, right? And I believe we're stronger together. Three-strand cord is stronger, right? I believe us together, we're more stronger together. And we don't do everything together, but there are some
Mhm.
things specific to the gifts that we have that our makeup and our quirkiness and our differentness makes us the best people to get the job done.
Mm.
Mhm.
And that's heel talk, right? I think,
That's real heel talk.
yeah, and that's why I wanted to end there with say that on the end of your sentence there, because when I'm listening to both of y'all, um, and knowing different people you're speaking of, big ups to Miss Rose and Johnny,
Mhm.
um, and just how it all works, how one feeds the other, and I'm speaking of relationships and moments, and how beautiful the evolution of your relationship, obviously being a mentor mentee and the way it started, and then becoming this family unit. And I love what you said, Dr. J, about like not knowing what one doesn't have or has, right? But we're all bringing to the table, and it becomes a collective of one meal. And that is just beautiful because, I think when I think of that, and I think of the power of mentorship and those relationships, and the longevity of those relationships. I think of when I first left House in the Wood and I moved to Michigan, I had a few families who met me in Michigan and posted up. And
Come
I
on
was like,
now.
that was the power of mentorship, right? I mentored
Yes.
some of their children. I took care of their children, right? All that good stuff. I only say that not for shine on me, more of like the shine of the relationship y'all speaking of, the magic of mentorship, the power of mentorship, the impact. We're at the
Mhm.
end of our segment here. Usually we do like what's one, two tangible resources, as y'all know. Heel talk, we don't do that. I'll just ask you, what was your heel talk moment in this conversation as y'all two get to reflect and share your love for each other? But we're obviously speaking of a theme here, which is mentorship and the power of that, right? So, and it's hard to see that when I'm taking in all this beautiful relationship and stories. So, in saying that, what is your heel talk moment from this conversation as we end this heel talk segment with Dr. J and Dr. Claire?
Sustainability.
Good. That's good, Dr. J. You gonna add to that, Dr. J, or that's or that's your
It,
moment?
just sustain to because we can get places, and this is what I learned from my doctoral dissertation. We can get in places, but we can't always be sustained.
Mm,
We could have had a mentorship, but it doesn't mean it was going to be sustained. So we both had to come to the table with something to ensure the sustainability of this relationship.
Mhm.
mm,
That's what I got, Dr. Claire. What you got?
Yeah, that's good. I think that no questions asked, right? And I think that that came from Dr. J, very early in our relationship. I said I need a mentor, and I think you my mentor, and she was like, okay, you know, I think that I never questioned what our relationship was built on, and it was I think it was something we both needed, right? And I think that the relationship grew from knowing that we both need. Now it may be a time where we don't talk as much or we don't see each other as much, but I think that you're right in sustainability because neither one of us knew that this was what we needed. And I just feel like this was so, I mean, this relationship helped me really find some grounding. And I just don't know. I don't know if you knew that, Dr. J, that um and I think that that's what was sustaining about this relationship is that we both found some grounding in this relationship. And I think that carried this relationship far. And I think it's a mutual respect for one another, you know. And I'll just end it there because I think that's also important in a mentor-mentee relationship, that mutual respect that helps to
Yes.
sustain the
Yes.
relationship far beyond the initial request to be a mentor or mentee.
That's good. That's good, Dr. Claire.
You don't call me doctor for nothing.
And I appreciate both of y'all. I think, this conversation was all about, mentorship, the mentees and mentor relationship. But for me, my walk away on this one in my heel talk is the rooted connections, right? Like I agree,
Yeah, that's
100%
good.
sustainability. But y'all relationship is so rooted. And some roots just can't break. They just can't, even if they want to.
Yeah,
And that's what I
yeah,
get from you two, is the roots that don't break. And those are deep roots, right?
Mhm.
They gotta be
yeah,
deep under the surface. They can't be 6 feet. They gotta be at least 15
correct.
feet. And the deeper the root, the deeper the relationship, I believe. And it's just
Yeah, for
beautiful to
sure.
see you two in a space that I didn't know about. Like I knew there was a connection. Y'all all came to sign up for camp, so I knew that. Um, and I knew the parties, but did not know that Dr.
But
J
Miss
got down with
Adams,
Miss Rose. Like I was like, oh,
yeah,
you got down with Miss Rose. I love Miss Rose, right?
yeah,
Like, and that's the beautiful thing of these conversations. Also, like, and this is more nostalgic as we wrap up our
yeah,
Heel Talk segment, is when I speak to y'all and just different folks from my city, it just so brings me back home. And I
good.
say that with so much gratitude and respect because even like my wife will notice like some of my segments I have with my Chicago people, my twang comes out more. She noticed. She's like, you sound so Chicago in that one, you know. When Dr. Claire says outside, she says that. Millie says that all the time when you say it, right? She just thinks it's so Chicago. And there was moments where I thought about that while I'm listening to y'all, and I was like, yeah. And that feels like a hug. It's like one of those hugs you get,
Oh,
Mhm.
that isn't physical, right, per
Mhm.
se, but it's still warm because you hear that, and that's where I'm from. So thank you, ladies, Dr. J, Dr. Claire.
Welcome.
This was our
thank
Heel
you,
Talk
Miss Adams.
segment. And this was our first led by our women here in this one. And I am so honored that it was you two. So you know what my last words are for y'all. We will see you next Friday for Friday Transformation. And my last words for y'all is who's helping you heal, y'all? Peace.